Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
Over the past 31 years, I've had the joy of traveling repeatedly to many corners of this vast subcontinent that is India. It is amazing to see how landscapes, culture, food, music, dances, and even languages change every few hundred kilometers that you drive. You see the highest mountains of the world, great seas, bountiful rivers, and best of all, a people whose thoughts and heritage go back a few thousand years. Join us on an enthralling journey. I am traveling again across the whole of India to bring you spectacular India. Ladakh literally means land of high mountain passes. This land is bound on all four sides by snow-clad mountains. It is cut off from the rest of the world for most of the year. However, in ancient and medieval times, it was a great center of trade. The routes that connected Central Asia to the Deccan and South India passed through here. In this harsh and inhospitable land, there are fertile pockets in the valley of the river Indus. These have provided a sanctuary for tribes from the Himalayan regions and from the lands of Central Asia. We are in Dardic village in Kargil district of Ladakh, deep in the valleys of the Indus, protected by high mountains all around, living in isolation. We find that there are still descendants of original Aryan tribes who continue their traditions.
The Brokpas are Aryan tribes who made this land their home many centuries ago. They are believed to be survivors of the so-called pure Aryan race. In these isolated mountain valleys, they have preserved language and cultural norms in relative purity. The Raj Tarangani, a medieval historical record of Kashmir, mentions Brokpa rulers of the first millennium and their relationship with Kashmiri kings. Anthropologists and historians have been fascinated by these tribes, as they are different from any of the other communities who are native to this land. They have fair skin, prominent noses, and light eyes. They bear, in fact, a closer resemblance to Caucasians rather than to Asians. Some historians say that the original Brokpas were a group of soldiers from Alexander's armies. After the war with Porus in the plains of North India, they lost their way while returning to Greece. Since then, they have lived in these mountainous regions. According to historians, the Dards migrated from Dardistan in the Gilgit area in search of pastures for their livestock. They settled in warmer regions where, in the summertime, the land blossomed with rich crops of apples, apricots, and grapes. The close relationship of the Dards with nature is seen in their beautiful tradition of wearing flowers in their headdresses.
The flower most important to them is the shukula. It is a dry flower and it does not fade. It is a symbol of eternity for the Dard people. चूली होता है यहाँ पर और क्या होता है?
अंगूर भी होते हैं, सेब भी होते हैं, साहब चेरी भी होता है, बादाम को एक दो बादाम होता है यहाँ.
अच्छा अच्छा. What a great life. In the middle of this arid desert, they grow so many kinds of fruit. What a wonderful way of living with nature. The villages of the Dha and Hanu areas are located about 165 kilometers west of Leh. They are in secluded, green and fertile pockets along the deep valley of the Indus River. Here, they have managed to preserve the ancient traditions of the Aryan people. These villages are home to the Dard people. The name Dard is traced back by some to Herodotus, the Greek historian of the 5th century BC. He described the land of the Dards in the areas forming northern Afghanistan and Gilgit today. आप कितने सालों से इस इलाके में रहते हैं?
देखिए सर, ये हमारे ये लद्दाख रीजन में, तो ये संसार में ये बहुत पुरानी बता रहे हम कि समय में यहाँ पे कोई था ही नहीं करके बोलते. हम जहाँ से कोई बोलते यूरोप कंट्री से आया, कोई रोम से आया, होते हुए हमारे अंदाजे के मुताबिक हमारे लोग गिलगित से आए. हम लोग गिलगित से होते हुए हमारे भाइयों में थोड़ा कोई बोलते अलेक्जेंडर के ज़माने में, कोई बोलते सिकंदर बादशाह के ज़माने में. तो ये संसार में हमारी ये लिखी हुई थे नहीं. ऐसे ज़बानी याद करते करते अब तक आए हम लोग. फेमस हम मोटे मोटे आंखें इतने, वो लंबे लंबे कैद के थे, इतना बड़े बड़े लोग. वो उस वक्त नाक बहुत लंबा था, हट्टा कट्टा, बहुत खुशहाल हर चीज़ में, किसी काम में लेकिन माहिर हो जाते हैं कि लेकिन लड़ाकू झंगू भी होता है लेकिन जीत के रहेगा.
Today, there are 5 Dard villages in Ladakh in India and a few across the Pakistan border. In recent years, these in India have been open to tourists. The Dards of Dha, Hanu, Biema, Darchik and Girkon are known as the Brokpas and follow Buddhism. Dards in Pakistan are believed to have embraced Islam.
My first encounter, which goes back about 15 years ago in Beima, there's a very interesting person I came across who became my main source person, and his name is Chospel. Chospel is around now 80 years old. I first got interested in this ethnic community since being pure Aryans was an attraction for the more fundamental German idea of Aryan. And two girls smuggled themselves, German girls smuggled themselves on ponies and somehow landed up in this one village called Beima. They wanted to be impregnated with the pure Aryan seed. So when they left, it was very interesting because they gave the interviews in international magazines. When I went back to study this tribe, I was very curious and I was wanting to know who it was that sort of hosted these girls. Chospel was sitting on a chorpoi with a Buddhist prayer wheel. There was some newborn child ceremony going on. He had no interest in the poor Buddhist priest who was sitting in the so-called drawing room of the little hut. And he was just sitting and he said, yes, I'm Buddhist. But then when you started talking to them, it was the animistic form of religion, which was so much more the living traditions. The Buddhist rituals were formalities. Their main deity is a goddess called Sri Malu. She blesses us. We just know that she's around. So it's just her energies are such. The other very important idea is the ibex. The ibex as a mountain goat, like the cows for a lot of Indians, is extremely important because they depend on the ibex for milk, for the hair. The coat is used to create these heavy collars in a very cold region called bachi, which is what the women wear, the bachis. When I lived in the village, every morning I would go with the girls of this community very high up to have a bath in the waterfall. And it was surrounded with, country roses, and it was springtime. And then it was during one of those visits that I was told about Bonana or Choshpula, which is a fertility festival. This community, the danger with this community, they do in marriages. And so there's this idea of that they're disappearing. And there's a lot of cases of mental retardation, etc., because they in-marry. And in this Bonana, what really happens is all the 5 villages come together. 5 days, they have 22 fertility songs. And on the 5th day, the Devta, who is called Shiolopa, just disappears because he's very shy of the human promiscuities which are happening. And it's free for all, so anybody could sleep with anybody. And it's an idea of increasing the population. Now, the German girls actually came in during Bonana festival. What is also interesting is that after the 5th day, then there are some relations which are formulated. And some of them are formalized as marriages. Now, in their marriages, what really happens is their own Sri Malu goddess, who sort of overviews the blessing of the formal cosmic union. The same thing happens in their death rituals. They cremate the dead. And again, just as it happens in most of the Hindu ceremonies, it's an idea of 3-day mourning. White shrouds play a very important role. They cremate. The river plays a very important role in the cremation rites, and everything is sent back to the nature from wherein the man came.
The original deities of the Dards were feminine, goddesses of the springs and the rivers, of fertility and fortune. In their rituals of death and in the importance given to the rivers, they are very similar to the ritualistic aspects of the Hindu faith. As in the Vedic traditions, the Dards mainly worship nature and the bounty which it provides us. They also remain very concerned about purity. Till recently, Dards returning home from trading trips outside had to undergo purification rites.
जो पहले शुरुआत में जब हम बकरी बहुत पालते थे सर, 200-300 के करीब पर एक एक घरों में होते थे सर, तो उनका ऊन निकाल कर फिर लड़कियों जो बनाते थे सर, इस तरह से ऐसे बनाते थे, उनको बनाकर कपड़े बनाते थे सर।
ये बकरी ये जो हमने रोटी आटे का बनाया हुआ है, जो बकरी जैसा बना कर लाया ना सर, बच्चे का जन्मदिन पे लाता है ये।
The ibex, a wild mountain goat, is central to their livelihoods.
ये बकरी एक ऐसा रूल है साहब, इसके अंदर ये तो किसी का ये गुनाह वाली चीज करता है, ईमानदार रहता है वो जंगलों में, जंगल का बिना वो किसी पहाड़ी का घास खा लेता। एक तो पहाड़ी में चढ़ने उतरने में वो इसका जहन जो तेज होता है, तो इसी तरह लड़का भी इसी तरह माफी होगा, ईमानदार होगा, अच्छा होगा।
यहाँ से जाते थे कहीं सामान का अगर कोई ज़रूरत पड़ता तो यहाँ से कश्मीर के लिए घोड़ा लेकर जाते थे। कश्मीर से 3-4 महीने के बाद वापस वहाँ से आते थे। उस टाइम पर यहाँ इस गांव में तो नहीं पहुँचते थे, गाड़ी खासी साइड में पहुँचती थी सर। वहाँ पढ़ने के लिए गया तो वहाँ मैंने गाड़ी देख लिया सर। मेरे को ऐसा लगा कि मेरे मन में ये गाड़ी किस तरह चलती हुई, ये क्या खाती क्या होगी, मैं परेशान हो गया सर। मैं अपने पिताजी से पूछा कि ये क्या खाती है, हमारा घोड़ा तो घास खाता है और ये क्या खाता होगा। तो पिताजी ने बोला कि सर आपको पता नहीं, ये सब मुझे भी पता नहीं क्या खाती है।
Dard men and women live as equals. In fact, women are accorded more importance than men. Quite often, women take more than one husband. These are sometimes brothers. as a result of the practice of marrying strictly within the community, some believe that these people are the only surviving pure Aryans in the whole world.
When I went and I attended Bonana, it was very interesting. The women anoint themselves. Now, of course, cosmetics, modern cosmetics have made them very modern looks, eyeshadows, etc. But previously they didn't have that. The men, initially, it's a flirting game. So the women are made to sing, and like most tribal dances, the dances don't have really a lot of movement in terms of a formal movement of dance. But the songs are very important. And so the first series of the songs are beckoning the men. Then the men sort of reply. So it's like a kind of a flirtation which happens through music and narrative. There's also space for personal kind of interpretations and personal reactions. So there may be a particular person you are sort of throwing your act towards, and they wait for the responses. There's a lot of gossip going on about who's attracted to whom, etc., which are the relationships which are coming out of this festival, which will be more formal after the festival. It's very interesting how the whole build-up takes place, on erotic levels. In many ways, it takes place and reaches the peak on the 5th day, when they say that the Devta appears, Shal Lyopa. He appears and he looks at what is happening in the human race, and he becomes very shy and disappears. And the moment he disappears, then in a very discreet manner, couples are allowed to go and be with themselves, not in the community, but alone. I asked her about the Germans, and then one fine day Shireen told me that it was her father and her uncle who had a good time with the girls, So I asked Jospel when he opened up, and I said, so did you know that did they become pregnant? And he said, yes, they did. So I said, did they sort of come back to you and report to you? What did they have? He said, no, and we are not bothered. We don't want to know.
The festival commences with an elder relating the story of the arrival of these tribes in Ladakh. 18 hymns are recited that speak of the journey from Gilgit. One of the songs sung in the festival speaks of the creation of the world. At the beginning, there was water all over the earth. When some of it froze, dust settled on the ice, and from this sprouted some grass. Soon, a juniper tree emerged from the earth, and gradually the whole universe came into being. The special Bonana pantheon is invoked for the 5 days of the festival. They believe that deities and humans lived blissfully together once. This time ended because of the mischievous ways of humans. Separate realms were then created for deities and for humans. This also marked the end of the harmonious coexistence of both. The deities are invited to come and participate in the festivities with the humans, in order to relive the harmony that existed in primordial times. Men and women dance in abandon and exchange jokes and insults. Unfortunately, reports about these dances as being wild and degenerate had resulted in a huge influx of visitors hoping to witness these practices. As a result, today, the Dards do not perform these dances in public.
If you look at the history of the Aryans, which is again the Vedic religion, and you look at the idea of the Vedic religion, which starts with hymns of nature, which starts with the hymns of cosmic order, Rita.
हमारे पास कोई पूजा करने का कुछ साधन ही नहीं था। हम हमारा जो कि आगे जो ये देख रहे हैं कि आगे जो एक पत्थर रखते थे चूल्हे के आगे, उनको हम पूजा करते थे सर।
Idea of white as a cosmic force, the white cloth, a white light, the sun, which is very similar to the Aryan idea of the sun. You know, like you have the Aditya, the whole idea of Aditi, the whole idea of Surya. So the white, like that as a cosmic force, plays a very unique life. And when I actually reflect on it, yes, it is what somehow brings the connectivity with the Aryan cultures, which we sort of understand through the Vedas. They are very decent people. There is an internal sense of keeping social order. There's a genuine idea of respecting spaces. So in Bonana, when young couples disappeared, there was a general respect for that. You know, we may from the outside think that this is bohemian and, you know, this is promiscuous or whatever, but a very great statement of social order which was actually being played out, and that is what we have to learn from these very early societies.
The worship of nature and leading a life in close association with the natural world is common to many of the early Indian people. Even in Vietnam, most of which was once known as the Hindu Champa Kingdom, I have seen this closeness with nature. It is a celebration of the bounty which nature provides us with. Till today, the ritualistic aspects of the Hindu faith are similar in many ways to those still followed by the Dards. These tribes were tucked away in the midst of high mountains. The purely philosophic streams of Indic thought did not reach them. Rites of the adoration of nature, as seen in Vedic traditions, continue here till today. The sophisticated concepts of yoga and of sansara and maya, the illusory nature of the material world, did not reach here. Sansara and the aim of escape from it, termed moksha or nirvana, are the philosophic bases of Indian thought. These clearly formulated ideas were found in the Upanishads, which were composed around the 8th century BC. The study of the Aryan tribes, who became cut off from the development of Upanishadic and later traditions, is fascinating. It gives us a rare glimpse of Vedic time traditions. It also highlights the differences between the ritualistic stream and that of sophisticated philosophy in India. Both of these flow together till today in the Indic faiths.